Calling all beings. Calling all beings.
Yeah! Woo! Welcome back to Calling All Beings. I'm your host, DJ, on a Scandinavian Saturday with my homies and my co-host. You notice down there in the bottom block, it says Nathan's Acolyte, who is also Exo's Acolyte. So by extension, that makes me also Exo. So, welcome back to Calling All Beings, and good afternoon, Nathan. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. I love the Scandinavian Saturday. That's great. We're going to start doing that on a regular basis. Just anything Scandinavian happening Saturdays. I'm down with that. Sounds like a lot of fun.
Got to. And also, Nathan, our co-host here, Debs. Good afternoon, Debs. How are you, ma'am?
I'm doing well. I'm happy to see everybody. It's been a minute.
Yeah, we want to thank you, Debs, because it was really, we had done this and we sort of forgot that we really needed to get more international people into the fold. And I don't know if it was a meeting or if it was a backstage, you were like, hey, Julie in the chat. Good afternoon, Jules. Thank you, love. Is that much love, acolyte extraordinaire DJ? That's what she put in chat. Debs, you're like, we need to get more money, Nathan, more international flavor here. And you had told us that, and we're like, yes, we got to go out and book some guests that are not from the US and the UK. It's almost like we're kind of like all over the community, and we really need to get other people's perspectives. So I reached out to Andres, and we had a phone call, which was brilliant. And boy, we really got on like right off the bat, had a great conversation for about 45 minutes. And then I said, Andres, what if we like try to get some other Scandinavian nations represented instead of, that way, not all the pressure's on him. Everybody can share their experience and also bring a topic today that they would like the others to comment on or a question. So with the help of Vinny Adams, so shout out to Vinny Adams. Hey, Vin, hopefully you're going to jump in here. You now have the link how to get in the studio because the folks want to see you. The Vikings want to see you, It's like Conor McGregor said, right? We didn't come here to take part. We came to take over. So the Vikings are in the house. So give some respect. Amen.
Amen.
All right, so let's bring them all on screen, Nathan, and then I'll go through the list. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. So right here, representing Finland, is my man Andreas.
Woohoo!
All right, and the second person to join this joint from Norway, the legend who just I guess is now like the sort of the leader of the Norwegian group is Renate!
Yay!
Yes! Did Christian with a C, did he make it or no? No?
I don't
We
see
don't
him
see him yet. No, okay. We were supposed to get Linus and then we were supposed to get Christian with a C. We'll have to wait on him, but you know what? Bergdis, and tell me if I'm saying, is it Bergdis or Bergdis?
That's perfect. Bergdis, but you can call me
Bergdis.
Bergdis, yeah.
Okay, Bergdis from Iceland!
Woohoo!
Thank you.
Yes! And now, last but not least, as I said, I'm watching a Danish TV series right now. Christian Thompson from Denmark!
Woohoo!
So, welcome, Vikings. How are you guys?
Good.
Thank you for the invite.
Oh, man, it is our pleasure. I've only been to 2 of your countries. I've had a couple of amazing trips to Norway to work with the Norwegian Air Force at Gardermoen. And the Norwegian Special Forces that have a base. Oh, man, I'm trying to remember this little little strip of land that they have. I'd have to think about that one. And I've got to fly around Iceland a little bit, and both places are just breathtakingly beautiful. I love both those places, and it was just flying around there. It's just kind of not like anywhere else. So, but I do hope to make it to Denmark and Sweden, and of course, Finland. As you mentioned, Andreas, the happiest people in all
Yeah,
of Europe.
it'll be a happy trip.
All right, let me pass it over to my man, Money Nathan.
Awesome. Hey, it's great to have all of you guys with us. I think there's, at least I'll speak for myself, a deep fascination with the Scandinavian region, countries, culture. That maybe that kind of is a U.S. thing. We're really interested in, the people there, and it seems like there's a mythology, that's part of that region that's like embedded in your culture to a certain degree. But I was wondering if you could speak to, and not all of you have to answer this, whoever wants to really. If any of you want to speak to, kind of the role that, the history of the mythology of the people plays in your people now, because it may not play much of a role anymore, as opposed to maybe the role that it played in the past. And how do you think, the connection to that mythology ties into your maybe openness to the phenomena? Does it have any connection whatsoever, or are you purely just looking at this from a entirely scientific perspective? I just, speak to that if you don't mind.
Great question.
Anyone can start. I don't know. Maybe we'll start with Andreas.
Yeah, that's a really great question. I haven't kind of thought of that. Well, we're a pretty young country, a bit over 100 years, independent, and we have strong strong old culture, and I think the mythological culture or part is called Kalevala. And we have our kind of deities there, and I think it's been pretty strong, and there's been it's influenced the people here, I guess. But now in the modern day, I don't know how much that plays into our day-to-day lives. But I guess you could say it makes us a bit more, flexible, open to thinking in different ways.
Interesting.
I was going to say that's a great question. Anybody raise your hand if you'd like to tackle that one that maybe sort of your country's past and the mythology, if that sort of plays into your acceptance of the phenomenon.
I can speak. Do you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. I would have to go with a strong no on that one. I would say that for me, it has absolutely. I mean, the mythology of Norway doesn't have any link for me to this phenomenon when it has to UAP. But of course, I don't speak for everyone in Norway, of course. But I don't think there's really a link there. We had when you troll someone on the internet, that actually comes from troll in Norway. That's one of our methodical, what do you call it? Creatures. Methodical. What's the word? Help me out.
Yeah,
mythological
creatures.
Mythological. I'm not English. I'm mythological. That's one of our mythological creatures, troll. So they're big and ugly and stupid, and yeah. So that's one of those. But I don't really see any link towards this phenomenon. Yeah.
And that's basically how we learn is because we ask these questions. We want to know, like, what's your position, because none of us on the show have ever interviewed anybody from the Scandinavian country. So that's why we doing this, homegirl.
Yay!
But guess what? Vinny Adams in the house.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Cheers,
Winnie.
Hey, Christian. He's got the wine. I'm on the beer. I
Vinny,
can't
what?
stop though. I know. I've
He
been out
comes
for
to the
lunch.
States and it's
Came
beer.
He's assimilating cultural assimilation.
What can I say? But listen, I can't stay, unfortunately. I've got a few things to get on with, but I just wanted to jump on and say hello to everybody. So I'll be excited to watch this full show back later.
All right. Thank you, Vinny. We appreciate. And by the way, before I let you go, thank you for helping me put this together, because I think, you gave me 2 or 3 addresses on or the handles on Twitter to contact to put this together. So thank you, brother. We appreciate you, and I'll speak with you later. All right.
All right, guys. Have a great show. Take care.
Namaste, Vin. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
All right. Back to the lecture at hand. Nathan, what do you think if maybe we do a couple minutes for everybody to give sort of a state of the union in their country, and then after that, what we're going to do is we'll start with Andreas, and we'll just go around, and everybody will have either a comment or a question, and the rest of the roundtable will get to comment on what your thought is. So let's start with Andreas. If you could just give everybody the state of UAP as you see it in Finland, then we'll move on to Renate and so on.
Great. Yeah, thanks. As I see it, I would say we have the same stuff you have in the States on the the private level, but on the public level, not so much. So I mean, we have UFOs here. We've had them, from the 30s reports. We have a lot of reports and sightings. We have the abductees. We have seemingly some materials here. Even we have a couple of official UFO organizations here, and there seemed to have been a big UFO boom in the 70s, and I kind of checked that aligns with when all 4 of our nuclear kind of reactors were kind of started on. So I don't know if it's has a connection there, but I think it's kind of an interesting coincidence. But yeah, there is a lot of interest here. There are groups, gatherings, people are sharing their experiences. I've been talking to abductees and so forward, but I'd say that we're not there on the public level, on the news kind of media level, on the government level. There's no statement from the government. There's like silence on the topic, and I think that's what we should work on here in Finland to kind of and I feel also that the community or the different UFO groups and groupments and organizations, there is a lot of energy, and it feels like they want to burst through to the mainstream, but it hasn't happened. And we have we probably borrowed the stigma from you guys there. So we have stigma here, but I think I believe that most of the people here still believe that there is life outside the planet. And I don't know if I'm taking up too much time, but I've kind of tried to probe a little bit the media, the government, and the defense department of our country to kind of ask them what they know. So I've been sending letters. Just cut me off if I'm kind of rambling on too long. But
chop your mic off right away. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that's good. Sounds good. But yeah, I've kind of been following you guys, and I've compiled mails to where I kind of reference to, for instance, the Schumer amendment, the Schumer and Rounds kind of a quality when they speak on the Senate floor, that the transcript.
Yes.
So I've added that, and then I've added sent a link from the preliminary assessment unidentified area phenomena from 2021 and 2023. So I kind of sent all those things to different places, and given translations in Finnish, or summaries. And I have a list here of who I sent them to, and I'm actually having a point because I have one reply which is a bit cool. But I've sent them to the Ministry of Defense, to the Finnish Security and Intelligence Service, to Defense Command Finland, to the former defense minister, to some select parliament members, and then to major newspapers, and to the Finnish National Archives. And then we have something akin to FOIA. So the Ministry of Interior, you can kind of FOIA them for stuff. So I've sent these kind of things like, I've asked them, do you know what's going on in the US? Do you know about the UAP, UFOs, and do you have classified or declassified information about this? And Finnish National Archives were really helpful. They told me that it's really hard to find the specific information because it's not categorized correctly. But they have a lot of secret letters from between Russia and Finland, or Soviet and Finland from the 30s and 40s, mentioning ghost ships. And I'm actually going next week to kind of read those documents and kind of try to maybe find some more. But the interesting thing here is that I got one reply from none other than the Ministry of Defense. They actually replied to my email, and I asked them, as I said, that do they know about these developments in the United States about UFOs, UAPs, and do they have any classified or unclassified information about this? And now Google translated their Finnish response to me like this: Dear Andreas, thank you for your message and your interest in national defense. Finland's intelligence operations are of a very high standard, and our understanding of the situation is very good in all respects. However, we cannot open the details of the inquiry to the public. So it's kind of a, some kind of an answer at least. And then I tried to press them that, do they think UAP pose a threat to national security in Finland? And to that they answered, I have nothing further to add to my previous statement. So that's the situation in Finland, I'd say.
So first thing I want to do is I want to applaud you right there, Andreas.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna tell you why. And I've picked on the Brits about this, so they've heard me say it. You are addressing your own government in this effort. Because if you are from outside the U.S., you can address the U.S. congressman all day long. Doesn't matter. The war needs to be fought on multiple fronts. So everybody from their country should be addressing their government on this issue. And that's how you're going to create movement, when there's pressure on multiple sides. Because Chuck Schumer doesn't owe you anything. You could sit there and email him all day. You're not one of his constituents. You don't vote for president. You don't vote in their elections. Don't care. So this is an excellent example of what needs to be done. And I'm not just picking on the Brits. I mean, everybody should be addressing their own government on what they have, if in fact you know that they have something. And this is also, I'm hoping that this will lead to conversations behind the scenes and on Twitter and in public between you and Renate and Christian, right? And Bergdis and the other Christian, etc., to how to strategize and to approach your government about this. That's how we're going to get movement. We'll handle lobbying the U.S. You guys can't. You might think you can by tweeting about them, but you can't.
Yeah.
So that's my opinion on that. Let's go to Renate, please, ma'am.
Yeah, so the situation in Norway is, it was, I guess, more popular to be interested in this topic in the 90s. The organization that I'm a leader for was well, I guess, a lot more popular back then. I was not in the organization at that time, but this has been information that's been given to me. So, there was a hype like in the 90s, but then it's gone steady downwards. I would say in Norway, there is a lot of stigma attached to this topic. I don't know if it's more or less than in Sweden and Denmark, but I suspect that it's actually more maybe in Norway. So there's really no talk about it unless you're in this this sphere or this like UFO bubble, whatever you want to call it, if you're on X or if you listen to podcasts. But like in the official sphere, we don't talk about it. There was actually, they talked about it when Grush was testifying in June So I was surprised that that was on the newsstand. But other than that, nothing really happens either. But it does happen. I mean, things happen, but just not. We don't have any real events that a lot of people see and they report on. It's one person saw this, one person saw that, and they want to stay anonymous because it's so much stigma attached to it. So
That's terrible.
you're really like, we're not getting any momentum at all here, and it's very, I guess you can say it's irritating because you want to know. But there are stories. We have our own magazine that we publish four times a year. So, and people call, and they call us and they make reports on our website. So we get information, but it's nothing that we can say definitely this happened. This person said this. It's a credible witnesses. We don't have those cases, unfortunately. We're hoping that we will get them. Maybe this is just a theory, but does it have to do with the fact that we're not an atomic state, or we don't have any nuclear weapons, we don't have any nuclear facilities, we have nothing like that? And you get the idea that a lot of these objects are around these facilities or close to attached to the nuclear power somehow, and we don't have that. But again, that's just a theory. I don't know. But we have, of course, had some cases that have been special that still remains, that people in this environment knows about, but not everyone, like in Norway. And we don't have many UFO organizations. We have really just the one that I'm the leader of. There might be others that are smaller, but that don't have any members, but maybe they're on X or have maybe a couple of people. I'm not quite sure, but I think we're the only ones that have members that pay, and you get a magazine. That's the organization that I lead.
Congratulations, by the way.
Yeah, thanks. So, and
may I ask one question? Do you happen to know what your government, like if they are in the possession of materials, or if they have a program that goes out and studies or captures if there's any down material? Do you know anything, have any info on that?
No, unfortunately I don't. There is this one story that was circulating around, but that there was this UFO that was down, but then been a lot of research on it, and they concluded that it was false. So but I don't necessarily think that the Norwegian government knows that much, to be honest. And I could be wrong, but I also work in the government, in the reserves as a captain. So I always have to think about what I say. So I'm very careful to say anything about my government, because they're my employer. But my thought is that they don't really know. That's what I think about it, to be honest.
So I feel your pain. I'm a former government employee as well. So I also had to walk that line for several years that we had this show. I did 2 different roles with the government. So it's kind of something that you have to do behind the scenes. But yeah, I also would, exactly like you, I wouldn't say it in public. And also I want to say, I want to try to just frame this real quickly. If I were to go to the UK and go to a public meeting with a member of parliament, be that in Ireland or Scotland or England, and I were to stand up or walk up to that person and say, you know what, on a social issue, and said, you know what, you guys really need to get yourself together on this issue. We need transparency. He would hear my accent and say, wait a minute, man. Why don't you go fix the gun violence in the U.S. and then come back and talk to me? So that is how that's how you, and if I were a legislator in the United States and someone came from out of the country and approached me in a public setting, I would say the same. I would say, look, we've got legislation on the books. You have nothing. Go back to your own country and lobby them. That's what they would say. That's what I would say. If anybody from another country approached me and saw the progress we've made and then compared it to their own country. So that's the sort of the way that I'm saying this. I'm not saying it to sort of be mean to anybody, but I just think that's the way to approach it, is to get movement on multiple sides, so that officials from your country begin talking to the officials from the U.S., from the Department of Defense or whatever, and saying, look, we're getting pressure on our side too about this. So, if the pressure's only coming from one side, hey, we could just have a unified front right here. Put all my forces right here, because there's no flanking maneuver and there's no maneuver from the aft position there. All the pressure is coming in one direction. It's easy to just block that one position. So anyway, let's get to who's next. Is it Iceland? Bergdis.
Yes, hi, thank you.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
thank you so much for having me. This is a first for me, a live of any kind. And I feel honored to be here with my fellow Scandinavians. So Iceland, there's really nothing going on here. I just discovered this by accident like 3 years ago. I was listening to podcasts and I was like, I just realized, and I was like, wow, okay, this is real. And I was a sponge for 2 or 3 years about this, but so it was just me with myself. I wasn't really talking to anybody about it. So I actually though have reached out to the Coast Guard because they are our defense department. I asked them, is there a database? Is there something, where can I look for instances in Iceland? And who do I talk to? And he says, you talk to me, and then it goes to NATO. So Iceland is, I guess, an extension of NATO and I guess the US when it comes to this. So I haven't bothered going further because I actually had a video. I have a video. I'm going to share it with you guys. And I shared it with them. They told me it was not spotted on radar, but I saw it nonetheless. So I know there's a presence here. But yeah, nothing's really going on. The media doesn't really talk about it. David Grush, they did maybe 1 or 2 news about it, but then, nobody's talking about it. So yeah, I'm just excited about what's to come.
We were talking about what a perfect place for the phenomenon Iceland is. It's just a perfect location for them. So, Nathan, when do you want to do videos? Do you want to do it at the end, or when would you like to do it?
Whenever I can. I have some in the file folder that you shared. I don't know if I have this one, but
yeah, I mean, where do you think it would be better to keep going, to show it now, or do you think it would be better to show it after we do the roundtable portion?
We can do it now if
okay.
Bergdis, do you have it available? Can you share your screen?
Yes, I can. I just need to know how I do it. Settings.
So where it says present at the bottom.
Oh, okay. Let me see.
Just click there, and there should be an option for that.
Present. Okay. Share screen.
Until I get my prescription, these guys, I'm gonna have to double up. Okay.
It's double strength right there.
Settings. Is anything happening? No. System audio.
And at the very worst, I can have you drop it in the folder that Nathan has access to, and he can pick it up from there. So you have the link.
We'll just do that.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, just drop it in there, and Nathan's getting paid a lot of money to do this technical director stuff. So, and executive producer. Anyway, all right, Christian.
Yeah. Here in Denmark, I'm actually running a Facebook group with about over 4,000 members.
Wow.
And updating them every day. I have some moderators, but it's me that's mainly the admin on this Facebook group. And we are putting up stuff to the Danish people every day. It's a private group, but we see many join. So yeah. Then we have a really public podcast called Flying Saucer or Flyvende Tallerken, as we call it here in Denmark. And it's on our main broadcasting station. And it's really popular. Millions of downloads on Spotify and also on the main page, broadcasting page on the internet. So other than this, there came a statement from our defense minister in 2001 that says that in the last 10 years, we didn't have any UFOs on our radars or systems or something. And that was asked because of the situation that goes on in the States. And there was another politician that wanted to hear what we are doing in Denmark. But as he was told that every public statement on UFOs goes to an organization called SUFOI. That's an old organization in Denmark. They have a form people can fill in, and they have had this for decades. So that's the way the public can report on the UFO sightings here in Denmark. But again, I was noticed by Winnie Adams on his podcast, Disclosure Team, that he got Luis Elizondo on, and he had a presentation, I think in 2019, that states that Sweden and Denmark and some other countries had some UFO programs, and I wasn't aware of that. But he stated on Winnie Adams' talk show that it was active when he was at ATIP. Yeah.
That is it really helpful to you guys that Lou knows that, and he would know, right? Because when he was the director of ATIP, he probably was in contact with not only the Five Eyes, even though you guys aren't part of Five Eyes. I'm sure there's conversation. So that tells you that you can engage at least Christian. And by the way, welcome Christian from Sweden. How's it going, brother?
Thank you. It's going great. I just I got a bit late here. Sorry, but I'm here now. Please proceed.
No, this is excellent. And I'll tell you what, you and Andreas have the two best beards, I think, on the show. Very much, I don't know, Sheriff of Nottingham meets Ragnar Lothbrok. I'm not sure, but they look great. So great job, guys.
Keeping up with that Viking vibe.
Yeah. All right. So, but that's really good to hear, Christian with a K, on that, because now you know that you can engage.
Yeah. There was I'm following a lot of people also here in Denmark, and one is an physicist. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he is a member of I think a board on space affairs, because he stated that he's responsible for any activities above 100 kilometers of sky and then into maybe space, so that and they I know they had a meeting after the shootdowns in the US of the balloons. or maybe one balloon. We don't know the others were balloons. It just
Right.
but
We don't know what those were. Right.
no, but yeah. So they actually had a meeting to discuss. Are we sure that we can handle Chinese balloons? I think, or something like that. You know.
Yeah. Well, depending upon where they are, there's an issue with shooting something down because figuring out where it's going to land, landing on someone's house, landing on someone's campsite, so that's why they waited for them to go over the ocean, I think, and shot them down and said, well, okay, there's less of a chance it's going to land in a urban or suburban area here than if we just take, at first glance, we send a fighter up, take a shot at it. So it's a very difficult thing. People were asking me, what do you think about that? I'm like, well, what do I think? I think I don't know everything, all that goes into the decision of when and where to shoot that down. And without knowing that, you're just going to go, they should have shot it down, man. They let it fly over the U.S. And it's like, I'm sure that they took all of these things into account and things that we don't even know what went into their thought process. But anyway, Christian, the other Christian's back. So what we're going to do, Christian from Sweden, is get a quick state of what's going on in Sweden from your perspective. And then we're going to start the round table where everyone is going to present either a topic or a question to the group, and everyone will get an opportunity to comment on that. So please, without further ado, let's get Christian from Sweden. What's going on over there, sir?
Yes, hello guys. I have quite a speech to make. I'm not sure if this is the right moment or if I should take that later.
Well, it depends on how long it is. How long are you talking? Are we doing 20 minutes or 5 minutes?
10 maybe.
Okay, let's go for 7.5. Be succinct. All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, yes.
Okay. Yep.
So, yeah, and I'm speaking on my own behalf, not UAP Sweden's. This is not the official position of our network. Everyone has their own opinions. And before I get further, I would just like to establish 2 facts. Firstly, the media coverage here is absolutely abysmal in comparison to the States. And in consequence, so is the level of interest and knowledge among the general public. As an example, a few months ago, on a very popular quiz show on state TV called På Spåret, there was a question to name the secret military base out in Nevada's desert. The celebrity participants are mostly quite well informed on various topics, and one of the teams got it right, but the other guessed Area 57 after some internal debate. So this is the level in society here. It's easy to forget in the circle of people I normally speak with. And secondly, there's an element within the Swedish military that takes an active interest in the topic. This is abundantly clear due to witness testimony from personal friends to us near our network, whom I have no reason to distrust. And the official line, however, is that the military has no interest in the topic, nor any contemporary sightings. Due to a tradition of public trust in our government that stands in stark contrast to that in the US, very few questions this official line. So with these 2 statements as background, I would also like to speak on the state of disinformation in Sweden. And also, I believe the situation in Denmark is quite similar as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we heard David Grush and many others speak of a sophisticated disinformation campaign designed to obfuscate the truth regarding the physical reality of UFOs from the public, as well as the existence of crash retrieval and reverse engineering programs. It appears, though, that the ins and outs when it comes to the actual strategy of this campaign is still poorly understood within ufology. It is my conviction that we can identify a central aspect of it, namely the infiltration of civilian UFO organizations. And I think this goes back all the way to NICAB in the 50s and 60s, which literally had first director of CIA, Roscoe Hillenkotter, on its board. And a more recent example would be James Carrion, the former director of MUFON, was always aiming to identify man-made technology as the source of UFO sightings.
Sure.
In Christopher Bledsoe's book, you can read about how Carrion came to him with a documentary crew and the very clear intention to debunk his story. And as you may know, Bledsoe has many friends within various government agencies, one of whom apparently told him that James Carrion was indeed a disinformation agent, a plant by some three-letter agency. And when analyzing Carrion's behavior, which constantly seemed to discredit that any form of non-human intelligence is behind the UFO phenomenon, it actually makes a lot of sense that he would be planted there to spread this message. When you think about it, the best way to spread disinformation about the UFO topic is, of course, to compromise the discourse on the subject, that is ufology. Specifically by influencing UFO organizations, you can really suck up all the interest in the topic and then go on to control and shape it. And there's strong indications that the same thing has been going on in Denmark and Sweden, especially since the 90s, with the leadership of the organization UFO Sverige here in Sweden and SUFOI in Denmark. As far as I can tell, these two are more or less sister organizations with similar structures and mutual respect for each other. Both investigate UFO reports sent in by civilians and aim to be the national authority on the topic. And I would like to continue by throwing out some disclaimers here. Of course, the wider membership in these organizations are good, honest people interested in the topic and doing their best investigations of UFO sightings. And the same goes on for MUFON, by the way, which is full of competent people and now also have better leadership by all indication. In the event that a small handful of people in the leadership of these organizations have any other agenda, one that is given to them by people from within the national security states, this does not make them bad people. I'm sure that they believe that they are doing what is best. And many people with a lot of knowledge on the topic, for instance, some within the Invisible College, are by their own admission not wholly pro-disclosure, as they do not see it as beneficial to society, I guess. Nevertheless, it appears that the leadership of both UFO Sverige and SUFOI are not completely honest in how they engage in the topic on a number of points. And I believe this has been quite detrimental to the level of interest and knowledge within our two countries. The people in charge of SUFOI are straight up 100% unapologetic debunkers, claiming that the whole phenomenon can be explained by mass psychosis, weather balloons, etc.
Yeah. Mylar balloons from kids' parties and yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But still, they encourage witnesses to report their UFO sightings to them, only to then go on and find some mundane explanation for it. This seems to be their aim. The whole thing is very suspect and frankly quite absurd when you get into the topic. So investigating civilian cases is also the central pillar of UFO Sverige's activity. Unlike SUFOI, they don't aim to debunk every case. They do, however, in my view, manipulate their own statistics in a very blatant and silly way, so that only between 0 to 2 cases per year are defined as UFOs, when the real number ought to be much higher, even according to their own very strict criteria. And this is, maybe we can get back to this topic later, but in general, I think UFO Sverige are a bit more nuanced than SUFOI. Not full-on debunkers. They at least acknowledge the reality of the phenomenon. However, when you try to get a straight answer from what might be behind it, it's like talking to a politician. Never a straight answer. I don't think I ever heard them talk of non-human intelligence as a reality. And the extraterrestrial hypothesis in particular, they take any opportunity to make a straw man out of and mock. SUFOI keeps referring to the UFO myth, and UFO Sverige talks about the UFO mystery. There's no satisfactory explanations, and we can never be free from doubt. And they focus quite often on local cases, historical local cases, and not really Nimitz, Roswell, Ariel School, and so on. So you can really question the scientific approach here, making the hypothesis a taboo and only collecting data. Yes, and the main guy here is Claes Svan, our big hero, who's been so important for ufology in Sweden. is pretty much synonymous with the organization, and also he's been working in media and pretty much been the only guy that has been approached from media the last 30 years. He's been a journalist at one of our major newspapers, and whatever media outlet who wants an expert opinion on the matter, he's the go-to guy. I think some of you in the panel today know him personally and only have good things to say about him. And again, I'm not here to criticize too much. I'm sure that Klaus does what he thinks is best and believes is right. But some things are highly suspect. For instance, whenever he's interviewed in conjunction to the latest Arrow report, he does nothing to question the sincerity in Arrow's motives, and instead emphasizes Kirkpatrick has done a good job. And Grush's testimony, on the other hand, he has mentioned as a conspiracy theory in the same breath as flat earthers. And in general, the whole leadership's response to Grush's claims have been very tepid, just claiming that, we heard this all before, as if that discounts their validity. This kind of analysis is to be expected by skeptics who, let's be honest, generally have a very poor knowledge of the topic. But this isn't the case with these guys at all. Klaus has 50 years experience in the topic. They are very knowledgeable. And they are, of course, aware of things like the Admiral Wilson leak and all the substantiating evidence. It seems like they pretend that they're not aware of it. I'm not the first to smell something fishy here. People have been saying that Klaus is here to keep the lid on since he took over in somewhat of a coup in the early 90s. And what I find the most sad is that there's been an environment created where witnesses and experiences feel distrusted and, as a consequence, remain silent. They are grouped together with lunatics, and I don't think that's very healthy. So, and even if you don't believe that there's any hidden agenda here, I probably wouldn't with the limited evidence that I've provided. These organizations have likely played a very significant role in the level of interest and knowledge of the topic here in Scandinavia.
I'm gonna tell you, brother. I wanna make an applause because I love what you had to say. And I'll tell you what, we're also not thrilled with our media either. We feel like they are carrying the water for certain organizations that want to keep this secret. And so says Ross Coulthart. So says George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell, because you have someone who testified under oath that he has evidence of these things and that he spoke with Sean Kirkpatrick, and then you have Arrow saying, nobody's come to us, told us anything. It's like, oh, okay, well, somebody testified under oath that that's not the case, and there's actually more than just him, not to mention Lou Elizondo and others. So thank you, Christian. That was a brilliant speech that you made. What we'd like to do now, I'm going to shut up. I'm going to turn it over to Nathan and Debs, and we're going to start with the order I'd like to go in. It's just the order that you kind of joined this effort. Andreas, Renate, Christian with a C, Bergdis, and Christian with a K. And because we only have about 42 minutes left, what I need to do is for you guys to be brief and succinct in your topics and in your answers. So starting with Andreas, present your topic or your question, and then it will go around the table to everybody else to be able to comment on it. But like I said, be brief because we're running a little bit behind. So please go ahead, sir.
Okay. Well, I'm going to choose a pretty quick topic then. My background is in app development and game development, and
Mick West. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Pretty much been doing that all my life. So this is question, and it's brief, and you're gonna love it. What kind of so there are some apps out there, but what kind of UAP, UFO related app or game do you think would be good to have, that would benefit the kind of effort?
To Renate.
What app would benefit this topic.
Or
yeah,
game.
how could we kind of use an app to what kind of app could we use? Could we make? Could we create?
Well, I guess there are already different groups that are making these apps. I've already met one or two who does do that. I think the main problem is actually getting people to use the apps, because you can have an app, but people who are not interested in this topic will never have that app on their phone. So I agree with the idea, and I love the idea. I just see a problem with actually people having the app. When they see something, I think like 99% will not have that app on the phone because they don't care. So the information that we want people to have about this topic, you need this app because when you see something, we want you to register it. I think that's the main problem. And there are already some apps out there where you can plot in what you saw, and it goes to this common register kind of thing. So yeah, that's my answer, I guess.
Cool.
Christian with a C.
I think I already spoke so much. I don't have anything else that I want to talk about. And I have an interesting saying that I say sometimes that I found in a AI-generated Batman script, which is the following. I have never followed a rule. That is my rule. Do you follow? I don't. So I'm skipping this point.
All right. We'll move. Thank you. Let's move on to Bergdis. What kind of an app do you think that the UFO community needs?
Wow. Okay. So I haven't really thought about this, but I do have myself the Enigma Labs app. And I did upload one video to there. I mean, it's a good concept, and I'm thinking something like that, like the Enigma Labs app, where you can upload what you see. You can upload your video and also see videos around you, incidents around the world. So that's a good concept.
And also, I just want to point out real quick, Debs, is it Baptiste Fricourt that has an app coming out or has an app out, right?
Yes.
And Hollywood from Liverpool in the UK has the Nano app that is, I don't know I think it's next month. She's having her soft release of that app, which I think all three of us will be testing on this show. So just to let you know, there are some apps out there that are coming out from people in the community. Let's go with Christian with a K, please.
Yeah. I actually made an app myself for Android users only. But we didn't have the resources to market it, so that's the whole point. That we really need to get someone to use it, or it won't benefit anything. But the app I made is a UFO alert app, where you can press a button, and where you see the UFO, everyone in a 15 kilometers will be alerted if you got the app yourself, and then they can push the button if they see it, and so you can track it that day, so and then maybe report it in later. But you will be alerted if anything happens in your skies, if anybody else sees it, and then the phone will start ring, and you can see on the skies if you can see it, and if you see it, then you push the button, and so on.
So there you go, Andreas. I think Christian likes the idea of the app because he made one, and Nate's like, "Yeah, I'm an Android user. You're damn right." But anyway, Debs is going to elbow her way into this Viking Roundtable. Debs, you had a yes or no question, so go ahead and frame it up, my friend.
Yeah, so that recently the European Parliament put out a presentation. I was wondering if you guys felt like that presentation of many people in Europe was helpful with the stigma battle that you are facing. And you can just say yes or no, because I know we are on a time crunch.
Andreas, was that helpful?
Yeah, sure.
Renate is on mute, my friend. It's okay, amigo.
Which presentation was it?
It was on March 20th, the European Union.
Oh yeah, I was there. Yeah, so I was in that room. Yeah.
Helpful.
The question was if it helped reduce the. I think it's a very good thing that they did that, and I think that it will help a little bit, step by step. Yeah, so it was great initiative.
Small steps. And Christian with a C.
Yes, I think it was a good step, baby steps. I mean, we've never seen something like this in the EU yet, as far as I'm aware. So I think this is a good start for people to get into the topic. But surely I would have hoped for a bit more, but it was okay.
Good step. Tepid enthusiasm. Christian with a K.
Yeah, it was a really baby step, and I saw Robert Flescher from Germany were with the panel. So, and he's really outspoken. So maybe that's a good thing. Yeah.
Dig it. Sorry, Bergdis. Sorry, I skipped you over, man.
Yes, definitely.
Yep. I'd see those are great steps. I mean, it's just step by step, is how we go. Progress has been slow. They're pushing back now, but, eventually it'll get there. So next with their topic is Renate's topic, please.
All right. So I will ask you maybe an unconventional question, but I would urge people to be honest and not to mention names or anything like that. I'm not looking for, calling out people, but I would like to ask a difficult question. What is it that we are doing wrong? I mean, what is the community doing wrong? Why is this topic not being elevated? There are a lot of things we know that we can do more of, but are we doing anything wrong? Are we doing what are we missing? Because it's not going mainstream, and we can always complain and put the blame on someone else. But what are we missing, and why can't we elevate this topic and get more people interested? So I just like to know, is there anything we could do differently? Is there something we could do less?
Let's go to you first, Andreas. Yeah.
I'm going first. Well, we could, as a community, we could be less hostile. We could be less judging, and we could be less bickering about who said what and who said and who's telling the truth and so forward. We could be more open. But getting people from outside in, I would say, well, focus on the nuts and bolts, not the woo side. So go talk about official stuff, government official stuff. That's what I've sent to all the media, our government too. And the book that kind of got me in a way really invested in UFOs was Leslie Kean's UFOs, Generals, and so on. And I think that's that kind of information, that kind of stuff is, I think, gets people in. Then when you get in, then you can go down the rabbit hole and learn about shadow people and orbs and poltergeists and stuff like that.
Yeah, humanity is the biggest sort of sticking point. Is that we are sort of born and bred to argue and fight with one another, instead of, if we could just say, well, there's something out there. We don't know what it is, but at least we know there's something. Then we can all sort of, pull in the same direction. But in the same time, we're trying to create change, that there's people who are going, well, there's nothing to see, so what do we need to create change about? Well, obviously there's something that these people are reporting, and we can't agree on that. So that makes it, I think that makes it really difficult, which leads to what you talked about, is all the bickering. But who is next? Let's go to, so this was Renate's question. So let's go to Christian with a C.
Yes, I think we need to trust ourselves more and not wait for official people to tell us when something is confirmed and so on. Because I mean, just a few years ago, I have another very good example. When the pandemic hit, we had Anders Tegnell here in Sweden, who was basically standing up to the rest of the world and basically every Western government, and saying that no, I'm looking at the science and this is how we should do it. And Sweden did that differently, and I think you can argue that he had right in many things he said, even though he had so many colleagues, friends, family, people in Sweden, and basically the rest of the world against him. So we need to identify people who seem to be the most knowledgeable and follow them, and not spread all kinds of information about everything at the same time. I think we need to get much more focused.
Couldn't agree more with that. Next is Bergdis, ma'am.
Okay, so I think we're doing so much right. What I've been thinking is this takes a long time, and I mean, mainstream media is not something to look to. Because aren't they just the extension of, the government's policy in this? But I think maybe the youth, the younger people, get them invested. I know everybody's really excited about this. In Iceland, everybody I talk to is excited about this. So I think we're doing what's right.
What are we doing wrong, my friend Christian?
I don't think we're doing anything wrong. We have been doing so much right. We have been making politicians take it up in Congress. We have the Soul Foundation now. We have been really doing many things right. But what I see is wrong is the secrecy around the topic. From governments, from the phenomena itself, and also the military. We haven't got anything from the Air Force yet. Why not?
By a show of hands, does anybody feel like if I were abducted by the phenomenon, I would come back with a full head of hair? Anybody? No? Nathan. Oh, yeah, we're not there. Thank you. Yeah. All right. Nathan, what are we doing wrong, sir?
Yeah, this is a really good question, and a really complicated one too. I think, you've all hinted at the fact we're dealing with decades of stigma, and stigma is incredibly powerful. I think about, just take the United States as an example. On a separate matter, we've been a very strongly sort of Christian country in our heritage, right?
No pun intended. But.
Yeah, exactly. That's 3 Christians on the show now. So, and I'm using this as an example because for the longest time, Christianity was such a strong part of our culture that it was odd if you did not go to church, or it was odd if you were not a part of a faith community. Even if it wasn't Christianity, it would be odd if you weren't a part of some faith community. It took time, quite a lot of time, in fact, decades, for people to be more comfortable with who they were and begin doing really what they felt it was okay to do. In other words, there was an extreme amount of pressure, societal pressure, to be part of these organizations, even if, personally, people didn't necessarily feel compelled to be part of them, right? And so, that stems in part because human beings, I think, are, we're incredibly mimetic beings. We like to copy what other people are doing. We look out and we say, okay, what are the people around me? How are they behaving? How are they dressing? What are they thinking? I'm going to basically try to parrot a lot of those same things, because then that validates sort of my identity, and it situates me within that community, because we are very communal as a species as well. So I'm bringing these things up because the stigma is very strongly rooted in this sort of social pressure to conform or whatnot. And I think it just takes a lot of time hammering at that to get the right people coming forward who give permission to others just by virtue of their bravery coming forward, like all of you, incredibly brave, coming forward in your communities to be advocates for this, so that people who see those individuals can say, the more those people do that, people can see them and say, oh, like, I guess it is okay for me to be interested in this, to want to study this, to be comfortable talking about an experience I had. I mean, how many stories have we heard of individuals that held a story inside for years and didn't tell anyone about it because they were so afraid of how they would be received? Right. So it took so long for some people just to come forward with their own experience. So the bravery of individuals like all of you and the folks that we've already talked about, the David Grushes, the Lou Elizondos, the Chris Mellons, et cetera, these are folks that help, I think, push this forward, but it doesn't happen overnight. And the pushback is very strong, right? We're seeing that in real time right now, with the Arrow report and the there's nothing to see here, and whatever comes out, it's a funny place that we find ourselves, because at least in the United States, and you talked about Sweden and the trust in the government there. It's not that case in the United States anymore. The trust in the government is has been highly eroded, and so we have a funny place now where it's like, well, the government said there's nothing to see here, but a lot of people don't trust the government inherently, but they interestingly want to trust the government on this particular topic.
This one.
Yeah, so it's a really perplexing, sort of situation. And I think it leaves people in a place of confusion, really, at the end of the day. And what will clear up confusion better than anything else? More facts, more information, more people who are brave and coming forward and talking about what they know, presenting evidence about what they know. So it's a really long answer to an amazing question. I don't know if I did that justice, but these are the challenges that I see in front of us to be able to talk about this more openly and really further and push the study of whatever this happens to be, and make it okay to be interested in this and try to get some answers.
As Nathan's acolyte, I am required to agree with everything that he just said. So no, I really do. I really do agree, Nathan, that it was brilliantly stated. Let's go to Debs. Debs, what are we doing wrong, my friend?
We're doing several things wrong. One was lack of organization that I faced when I came into the topic. I feel like people should be able to go to one place to find information about everything. And I tried to do that with the UFO connector, because all this information is all over the place. I think not listening to experiencers and really getting information from them is a big problem. And the government's still trying to do that. They're trying to only go to radar reports or, pilots, but they're not talking to civilian experiences. And then the other really big one, and I have to say this, is some of the terminology we use even repels me. And I've talked about this before. When people say Zeta Reticuli or Nordic, I'm like, I'm out. Like, no, don't, like, please don't say those things. Like, that repels me. So if that repels me, who knows so much about the topic, you can imagine people in public would want to stay away from things like that too. It has sort of like a kind of weird religious fervor to it when people get into things like those terms. So I really think we should avoid it. And I've been to a site that was led by people that I would have said were very reputable. And they had a whole bunch of information like that on the site. And again, I was like, oh, yeah, no, I'm moving away now, because those terms, we don't know for sure that that's what the people are called. Or, people say entities, I tend to sometimes call them people. We don't know. So we really should avoid locking ourselves in to terms like that. Yeah, I had to say Nordic at least once today. Okay.
I agree 100%, Debs, because people will describe these folks as, oh, well, they had long hair, long blonde hair, and translucent skin, so that must mean they're Nordic. I don't know. We have a whole group of them right here, and none of them have translucent skin or long blonde hair like Thor. So I don't know. Yeah, it does. It gets in kind of like a, I don't know, very tropish. And the same thing, like you said, with Zeta Reticuli, or using the ET, to try to make it sound less plausible by just saying ET. So yeah, it does add an unneeded stigma. But let's go to Christian with a C with whatever your topic or question is for the group, sir.
Yes. So my topic is, when you get into a certain depth in the topic, it's quite common to want to tell the whole world what you have realized and to spread everything that you think. And for me, it's really been a journey. And lately, I've gone much more inside and focused more on personal development and getting strong in my beliefs. And this is kind of related to what I talked about before with this massive amount of information, and also kind of a type of gaslighting that goes on within the UFO community as well, where some type of information just goes around and around, and we never reach further. So I wanted to ask you if anyone has been thinking the same, that you've been focusing more on yourself, or if you have any ideas or recommendations, what you have been doing, if you've been thinking in the same way, or is it only me who's been going more inward recently and trying to work on myself more than changing the world?
I suspect you're not the only one. I just want to say before we go to Bergdus with this question, if you are watching right now, if you would please give us a like and a subscribe on YouTube or whatever platform it is that you're watching us right now. If you would do us that favor, it will help. Pretty soon, Cab will be going over to a network known as the Untold Radio Network. That's where you will find us. There will be an announcement next month when we launch over there. They're launching a couple of other shows over there, and so I think we're going to be a May launch, but please give us a like and a subscribe. We would greatly appreciate that. Let's go on to Bergdus for her take on Christian's question.
Thank you. Sorry, could you sum up the question
Just give
me?
her the other part. Yeah, the summary of it, Christian.
The summary is, for myself, I've gone from a place of wanting to spread the word to all of the world and to share a lot of information into focusing on my own journey and personal development and getting stronger in my own beliefs and my own knowledge. And I wanted to hear if anyone else has been feeling the same way, and if you have any recommendations of what you have been doing, if so, or maybe I'm the only one thinking this way.
No, I
ahead,
think
Bergdus.
for me, this has been, there's been a lot of personal growth, because, this is like, as you know, paradigm shifting. This is so huge. So for me, my mind was blown. And I was at that stage, right? And that's why I started a podcast. I felt like I really had to share this. I just had to, and I'm already going out of my comfort zone just doing the podcast. But I have this force kind of within me, just driving me forward. I've never been this, passionate about anything. So, that also has been huge for me. But yeah, I agree. I'm there with you for sure.
Okay, yeah, and I actually just saw you, Bergdus, about the email, so I'll get you added to that so that you could drop that in there. Thank
Already
you.
got it covered, DJ.
It's taken
Good.
care
Oh,
of.
thank you. Thank you, Money. Okay. Good. Okay. All right. I'm sorry. So yeah, next person. Who's? Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I'm actually going on a podcast here in Denmark, and was trying to educate people about the phenomena, because I see it more when the tsunami in Thailand hit people, they didn't know about a tsunami. They went the sea went out to the sea. The shore went out to the sea, and everybody picked up the fish, and then the wave come, boo. And I don't want that to happen to this topic. So I want people to be informed, but have their own mind about what's going on, but be more informed about the tsunami. And we talk about disclosure, and we talk about controlled disclosure and catastrophic disclosure. And I don't want the catastrophic disclosure. So I want people to know what's going on, make up their own mind, and take action.
So it sounds like my reading of that is that both Bergdis and Christian are going outside with it, as opposed to looking inside, because they're looking to project this out. But in case of Christian, it's in a very responsible and careful way, and with the case of Bergdis, it's the beginning of her journey. So, which really exciting stuff. Let's see. I think, and had you already gone? You hadn't responded to this one, so go ahead, please, Andreas.
Yeah, good question. I would say that the personal growth and spreading the word is probably not kind of mutually exclusive. I would say that once you get into that, mode or knowledge that you have kind of this epiphany that something is going on, then I guess you need to strip something off, some of your beliefs, something, and at that point you probably need to build something up again, and you might, and so I would say it kind of comes with the package. So when you get in there and you really start believing this thing, and and it will change something, and I think that will also inherently kind of make you grow personally, hopefully. I think so. I think it happens, but I feel that I've have a lot of growing to do. I'm always trying to find my place, and I've experienced some kind of a woo things with when I was a child, and for me, personally, I'm just kind of out to get those. I want to know what it was. So both.
It's good, right? It can't. We like to say it's not necessarily this or that. It can be this and that, right? Also, want to say, if any of you, as you're starting podcasts, and if you need people to come on and chat with some of your friends and colleagues, I am sure that Nathan, Debs, and myself would make ourselves available to engage. And I also want to say we have a cabbie prospect that is part of our show, and is sort of going through the prospect phase. That's Courtney Marcassani, and she is at Inspired Create TV, I think is how it is. Help me out, Nathan. Is that right? Yeah. So Courtney has something really big going on today. So hopefully we're gonna hear about that later. But yeah, she also would love to engage with people and has tons of information like Debs does. So next is Renate didn't get to answers. Thank you, Money.
Okay. So for me, that will be a negative. I have not had any personal growth. I'm not in regards to this topic. It's not doing anything for me in that way. So that's a no. My focus is on the future. What's going to happen in the future? How are we going to get the answers that we need? What is it? Who's operating this? How can we use this technology to help make a better world? That's my focus, and that's where I am.
Very courageous with your sacrifice. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Very courageous doing this and still being in government, and in fact was in the room when this EU briefing was happening. So that's wonderful. Who's next? Let's see. After Christian with a C, we have Bergdus's topic. Or is that right? Do I have that right?
Yeah.
Money?
That's right.
Yeah? Okay.
And I do have the video, so if we want to show that, we can do that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a video I recorded on March 19th last year, 2023. And my question is, what is this?
All right, give me 1 second to put it up here.
It's taken from my balcony at night, and I just spotted something anomalous and took up my phone. It's almost out of battery at that point, so that's why it's a little shaky, but
Luckily, Julie's got the chat. I've gone full screen, which is such a better experience for these.
Yeah, just 1 second, y'all. Sorry, technical issue here real quick.
Yeah. I'm glad that Nathan deals with this and not I. But in the meantime, look at his logo going around the screen.
All right, so here we go. Sure, we got the sound. Right, here we go.
I don't know. You have to put the lighting all the way up. There's actually 2 black dots. You see the one falling down, but before it falls down, another one runs into it.
There's one. Is there one high? No, okay, that's on the camera. Okay,
Yeah, it's probably, I don't know if you can see what's going on. Maybe the quality is not the best through here.
We're going to hit it one more time.
Okay, and if you watch from the left, you're going to see a black something going into the one. Do you guys see anything?
Now, I see one. Is that where your cursor is now?
Yeah, this is after the collision.
Wow, I saw that. I didn't see the collision, but I see it. It looks like it shifted shape a little bit.
If you go fast in the beginning, like backwards and forwards, maybe you can see when it hits the one. And then it keeps going.
That is pretty wild. I see it now quite clearly.
Yeah.
This is one of the challenges is to be able to capture these things. It's almost like they weren't meant to be captured with the medium that we're using, the digital cameras. It's much like the best Bigfoot film ever was shot on like a 16 millimeter camera before there were digital cameras. And nobody has replicated that yet. But I'm glad you got it, and it probably was pretty spectacular in person, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and this was just a coincidence because like 2 years before this, I started getting into this. And then I was like, no way. But the thing is, I need to upload it in good quality because I've already posted it to Instagram, but the quality just isn't good enough. So then you can see better what's going on there. But to me, this is anomalous.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I would say so. When you see 2 things crash in the air and they don't go on fire, that's a pretty good that they're not 2 aircraft, right? So,
Yeah,
you
I don't
done,
know.
yeah, you done good. You done good as you can do for having been surprised and not having a camera set up.
Right.
Yeah, because Linda Thompson once shared with me a video taken on a balcony, but the camera was, what's the word I'm looking for? It was a pretty good high powered camera that was meant for taking shots like this, and it was on a tripod. So,
Right.
but anyway, what was your question, ma'am, for the group?
My question was, what is this?
Ah, okay.
What is going
So,
on?
all right, and who goes after? Who goes after Bergdis? It's Christian.
Oh, that's right. Yep. Christian with K.
Christian
Yep.
with a K. Yep.
Oh, should I answer?
Yeah. What'd you think it was?
I see these videos many times. People sending too many to me, and like you say, DJ, it's like everything. It's out of focus or in the distance, or you haven't got any big shot of a UFO. It's like when you see it with the naked eye, it's pretty wild and crazy. But if you take your phone, it's really crabby, and then we can talk about technologies in our phone, But the phone is not a good tool to record anything, I think, and especially not at night. So.
Yeah, it was a real shame because I'm a photographer and I have good cameras. So it was really unfortunate that I just had an iPhone almost dying. So yeah.
So sometimes I really wanted the people that go out and look at the stars. They had a really wild camera or recording system, but again we saw that the phenomena can also be tricky to record.
Yeah, UFO Thinker Frank just had somebody on. He was a cab driver that had some huge black triangle, but wasn't able to capture it on phone. It's uncanny. It's just, Nathan will probably talk about ontological shock that someone's going through if they see something like that before something like a black triangle, before you can even think about getting your camera out. And I can tell you guys, I've heard hundreds of Bigfoot experiencers that said the last thought I had was to grab my camera when they were in a Class A in front of Bigfoot sighting. But Andreas, what did you think that was? What's your take, sir?
I wouldn't probably be the best to analyze that, but I would really like to see, or love to see, the kind of a raw footage to kind of understand it better. But I couldn't really comment on what it was.
Yeah, Berg just may be able to improve that a little
Yes,
bit
for
and
sure.
be able to share
Just I can send you a WeTransfer link so you can just have the video because it's really spectacular. And I'm sorry it doesn't come that way on your screen this time.
No worries. I want to see it too, Berg. So
yeah,
make sure
looking
you share it
forward
with
to
me
seeing
too. Yeah. Next is, let's see, Christian with a C. No, Renate.
I have no comment really. I couldn't really see it, and I don't know. Sorry.
Are you on the podium at the White House, John? No, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry, I have no.
I work in
like John Kirby.
Could you really reveal it in a skiff?
I work in government, so
I know. I'm just kidding with you. We're gonna have some fun today, Renate. It's required on Cab. Having fun is part of it.
That's
Can't
right.
be all serious. All right. Let's see. Next up is Christian with a C.
Yes, I would like the link being sent so I could watch the raw footage. Would be interesting. I can't really tell from what I saw on my screen now. But also on this note, I think it's interesting what you hear so often, that with all the people running around with mobile cameras nowadays. There should be so much great footage, but in reality, this technology is made for taking close portraits and so on. So I find that a bit funny as well. I just wanted to add that as well. But no further comments, Your Honor.
Andy McGrillen talks about this all the time. He talks about how that people aren't even able to capture great photos of blimps or aircraft. So you could imagine when you have something that maybe is popping in and out of our reality and is partially visible but shape shifts. I mean, there's an enormous amount of challenges. And by the way, I did mine was in the 80s, but I did a show last week from my high school where I had on 6 different people who saw black triangles during the 1980s, and nobody has a photo of them, but they're well documented, and it includes hovering over the Indian Point nuclear power plant in my town. Let's see. Next up is Christian with his topic. Christian with a K. Sir.
Yeah. And now I have spoken about informing people. How can we be better to inform people? And also, how can we get the media to focus more on this topic? Yeah.
Great question. That goes to all roads lead to Andreas.
Oh, that's cool. I would say I would answer a bit the same way I answered before. Once I would say that we would focus on getting talking about the nuts and bolts and that part and kind of getting these insiders who's been in the maybe in the government in the know and getting like these credible sources and kind of going that way.
Yeah, I would say with the exception of Renate, who's in a position where it could make problems for her.
Yeah.
I think that get in touch with your local official, have a meetup at a pub or a restaurant, and when you get enough people coming to those meetups, then invite your member of parliament or your the most local official you can and say, hey, this is what we've got. And then you start working from there. They call it grassroots is one way to call it, but I think that's the best way, because once you get a local official there or you get a member of parliament there, well, guess what? Now you can invite the local television reporter or even print reporter to come to it, or online journalist to come to it. And that's how it happens. I mean, there's no other way to do it. I mean, other than that, you could just email somebody, but have meetings, get 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35 people to show up to a meeting somewhere at a restaurant or a pub or somewhere, and then invite your local official to come and join you. So that's my take. Is that everybody, Nathan?
Yeah. Unless did you want to have others comment on that question?
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. Please. I'm sorry. Yeah. So the next one is Renate. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that the way that we can elevate this topic is by restraining ourselves. Is that the right word? By being, by being restrictful in what we say, because one of the problems here is that I very much agree with Andreas. One of the issues here is that we want to find out what UAPs are, but when I say to people, I want to find out what this is really important, I want to talk about this topic, sometimes I get answers like, and also I also believe in ghosts and hot rocks and crystals. And I go like, well, that's not what I'm talking about. And they're like, there's an automatic link between, for many people, there's an automatic link between UFOs, and they automatically start talking about ghosts and crystals and hot rocks and I don't know, whatever. But the problem is, I don't have a problem with people, thinking this and being interested in this. But if we want to elevate the topic, and if we want real people, scientists, politicians, government officials into this topic, we have to be restrained. We have to show restraint, and we have to focus on what we're actually trying to find out. And I'm going to be really unpopular here, but I'm going to say it as it is. I mean, you can't talk to a government official and say, I want to find out what about UFOs, but I also want to find out about Bigfoot, because you just can't. I mean, I know that this is something that, is more popular in the United States. It's not popular in Norway at all. We don't believe in it. I'm not talking for everyone, but most people, that's a no-go. So my point is, show restraint and get people interested by talking about the nuts and bolts and the politics and so on. And then further on, people can go down rabbit hole if they want, but that's not how we elevate the topic. And another tip is that if you talk to media, it's best to find someone that you think maybe is interested in the topic. Maybe you can Google someone and see what other people have talked about this before in a good way, in a objective way. So, but if you just send it to like the common mail where everyone gets it's something about you don't have that witness protection or something as well. So if you find someone, try to find one or two people that can be interested in this and work with them instead, and have a relationship with them instead of just sending to CNN.com or whatever. Find people who you think can be part of this. Yeah.
I think your advice is invaluable, Renate. And this has been said before, that if you were to bring on a whole slew of experiencers and abductees such that we might interview on this show and bring them before Congress, it would be, I don't want to use the term, it would be a blank show. It would detract from the topic. So you have to start in as much as people, we value experiencers and abductees as much as we value these government folks that come out. You have to start somewhere to get where you want to go. And I think that's what you're saying. And you have to appear sober and analytical and say there's clearly something here. It's being reported by people who have had background checks and have gone through processes to get their jobs, security clearances and the like. And even though Bob, who works at the liquor store, had a genuine experience, that's not the person that you're going to bring in front of Congress. Unfortunately, that they wouldn't be taken as seriously as David Fravor was, which, by the way, I come from a military aviation background. I wouldn't be doing this show if it wasn't for David Fravor, because I also would not talk about my own UFO experience when I was a kid. I never talked about it until after I was retired from the Air Force. And David Fravor came out, and I said, well, I guess if he comes out and talks about it, I could talk about it. So it's a process. Let's see. We're going to Christian with a C.
Yes, I agree with what you just said, DJ, and with what Renate said, pretty much. I think the ball is rolling, and only like in the last week or so, 3 different people from around me has contacted me and wanted to talk about the topic out of the blue. And I have quite a big network, as I'm doing some events and DJing and know people from all around here, and I'm noticing a huge difference in the last few months. So I think this just needs to take its time and run its course. Now, I think the trend is very positive.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're in a great place, much as it looks kind of dim and dour right now as a result of the stupid report from, the group that we don't trust to be transparent about what they know anyway. So I won't name them here. Next is Christian with a K. Oh no, Bergdis was next, but that's okay. You can go, Christian.
I think she dropped. So.
Oh, did she? Okay.
Should I answer my own question?
That was your.
That's true. It was his question. Yeah. No. If you don't mind, I might.
Please.
I'd
go
like
ahead,
to answer
sir.
this. So,
ma'am.
I definitely agree with, Renate, with your perspective on this. I think we have to it's like sort of know your audience, right? We have to kind of meet people where they happen to be, and also acknowledge just what we do and what we don't know. And there's a great deal. What we do know is about this big. What we don't know is, huge. And so let's try to decrease the amount of ambiguity and uncertainty that exists in this topic by focusing serious people on the subject. But I think it's also a really confounding too, because there's sort of what can we know, like these epistemological questions. What can we know about this? And there are empirical questions like what can we prove about what this happens to be. And as many of us are familiar with too, there are these like deep ontological issues, like what is the basis of reality that we may be getting wrong because this is something that is observed but doesn't fit nicely into our current ontological model. So it's a bit of a conundrum in some ways, because we're asking our current model, which seems inadequate, to explain something that it doesn't understand. So we basically have to try to push the model, I think, forward through its own, sort of means, but recognizing that its own means are falling short of understanding what it really is. So it requires a great deal of scientific openness, I think, to the mystery and uncertainty that just happens to be here. I think that we have to be willing to question some of our long-held assumptions about what reality is, how it behaves, because I think we're going to find that we don't have the whole picture, and we're going to learn more as long as we can focus serious attention on this, right? And I think you can't get that serious attention that you need by immediately launching into the weird things that some people hold belief in, and very, very personally strong conviction in belief, because you're just going to lose people. You're going to lose people right away, and they won't listen. And so, but the other thing I'll say about that, though, I think that, and we kind of talked about personal growth earlier. One of the things that this topic has done for me personally is that it has allowed me to, I think, meet people where they really are, because you can go through life really kind of guarding who you are and protecting the vision or the way people perceive you. You're really masking like who you really are, and we all have masks that we wear. And so I think this topic has allowed me to be more open with where I'm actually at, but also be more open to where people are, and not kind of come at them with a your experience is so weird to me that it can't be real. So I'm just going to immediately kind of wall it off from from my ability to connect with you. So it's really challenging. It challenges, I think, the ways in which we relate to each other, and I think it makes me. I'm hoping it makes me more humble, and kind of just acknowledging that I don't have all the answers, and I don't have the monopoly on the truth, and I want to hear from as many people as possible, and understand what their experiences are like of the world, because that, I think, makes me a better person.
I don't have a choice but to personally grow, because I talk to Nathan every week. So I I just have to. But I'm going to share with you guys in our group chat that we have now that we're all connected on X, a masterpiece of a podcast between our friend who's been on the show, Matt Knapp of Bigfoot Crossroads, who talks to a guy named Steve. And Steve does not identify himself fully. He is a immunogeneticist, if I understand his at the University of Florida, but he is from the foothills of Appalachia. So he's both a scientist. He has also grown up in a place where lore is prevalent, and he has had a UAP sighting. On this show, on Bigfoot Crossroads, they talk about the phenomenon. They really don't talk about Bigfoot, really, until the end of it, really. He's talking about the phenomenon that we would call UAP. And he's going to discuss, so I'm going to share that with you, what we know and what we think we know and what we understand and how much we really don't understand. But he puts it in a way that is brilliant. And I call that episode a masterpiece. And I've basically shared it with everybody I know who studies the phenomenon, because Matt is a brilliant interviewer, much more brilliant than I'll ever be. And Steve is a brilliant thinker about the topic. So I'll share that with you guys. And I recommend you listen to part 1 of the hybrids with Steve and have him listen to his thoughts on the phenomenon. Debs, ma'am, what are your thoughts on what we're discussing here?
Right. So the media was mentioned, and there's some interesting things that I want to point out about the media. One, obviously, some of those newspapers are owned by people like Amazon or have contracts with people like the CIA. So a lot of people call into question what they're going to print anyway, right? But frankly, if we don't provide news, like obviously this is a long-standing topic, it's been going on a long time. If we don't have news on it, like an update, like a hearing, for instance, they're not going to report it because they're just telling everyone what everyone already knows. UFOs have been seen for a long time, and that's not something that's going to sell their newspaper or whatever. But I also want to point out an issue that I've noticed with journalism. It's copy and paste journalism happening quite a bit. And when you go to Google now to find something new, it gets buried by those copy and paste articles. So literally you'll go, I want to know something new about the Nimitz that was just mentioned. I want to find out. And there's 50 of the same articles about the first report on the Nimitz. And it's almost like it's not helpful to have the news cover it sometimes because they're covering up other pieces of information. It used to take me to like the 10th page on Google to find something because there were so many copy and paste articles of the same thing. And then the final point is that nowadays we're making our own media, and there's nothing wrong with that. Social media is very, very powerful. We cannot understate that. A lot of the news that I get is from going on social media. I don't buy newspapers, and that, a lot of people don't nowadays. So if you're making content that people are accessing, you are a part of media now. So, yeah.
Yeah, Debs, and everybody that knows me knows that I am not a conspiracy theorist, and I also agree with David Grush that there has been a 70 to 80 year campaign to disenfranchise the American people of the knowledge of what we had and what we knew about the phenomenon. So but I am not a conspiracy theorist by nature. I don't think that everything is a conspiracy. This clearly kind of is. And, when Richard Dolan says that that the mainstream media is not taking this seriously, and they're not, they are maybe, what's the word I want to say? They are being told by certain elements within the government, hey, maybe if you don't talk about this, you'll be getting the next story that comes out. I'm going to contact you first with this information. I'm starting to believe that there's something in that, Nathan. Would you concur with that?
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, I think that the large media outlets, the New York Times, et cetera, I mean, they absolutely have internal contacts within the agencies, and they want to protect those sources. And if those sources are not being very forthcoming on this topic, or may withhold their further input on other topics of interest for that newspaper, then yeah, it's a way to control the narrative. I mean, I think it's pretty well accepted right now that the mainstream media is, at least in the United States. I can't speak to the media that exists in the Scandinavian countries. It may be much better at this, but the mainstream U.S. media is very much kind of anesthetized. That's not the word I'm looking for. It's whitewashed in a way. It's very clean in terms of what it presents, and it has an agenda in how it presents certain things. And sometimes that agenda is patently wrong. I mean, it parrots the state in many instances, and you can just look at history and find that years later on, looking back, whatever that fact that was being spread by that paper or whatever happened to be wrong, and it was just they were a mouthpiece for the government at that point. Again, this speaks to the tricky nature of just understanding what's really happening in our world, because we have examples where this has taken place, so that then immediately seeds further distrust in these institutions. Are they telling the truth? Sometimes, absolutely. Maybe they're telling the truth most of the time. Our ability to parse that truth from fiction, from propaganda, is really, really challenging. It's even more challenging today than it probably has ever been, because it's just so easy to spread information in the world now. And that whole saying, a lie can get around the world 10 times before the truth can. And I'm going to botch that saying, but lies spread very quickly.
Yeah, can I add something to that real quick?
Sure.
Like, I just want to point out that a lot of people are taking op-eds as news. And if you notice, a lot of what's actually circulating in terms of articles are opinion pieces. They're not news. And that's happening on shows too. News.
That's right.
What do they call those people? Not reporters, the pundits. They're just giving their opinions. They're not giving news anymore. So
yeah, that's a great point. I mean, a lot of these sort of newsrooms have had their staff dramatically reduced. Like our ability to go and do classic boots on the ground, hard-nosed reporting, getting information is like greatly diminished now. So we're left with people just who want to share their opinions, and then they regurgitate those opinions across other outlets. And you see that in this topic quite a lot. Whatever like the big headline happens to be, a lot of, like you said, copy paste that gets put into other publications, and then that's the story. There's not like independent people who are pursuing that topic separately. They're just kind of borrowing from each other's homework.
And before we go with, we're gonna give everyone a chance to promote their channel. I just want to say, I heard this, and again, I'm not given to conspiracy theories, but when I heard this, it caught me off guard. Don't quote me on the statistic, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that drug companies are not allowed to advertise on anyone's television on this panel except for Debs, Nathan, and myself. And if I'm right about that, I heard a statistic on it, actually from a guy on the network that we're going to, on Untold Radio Network, that said that 70% of cable news ad revenue comes from drug companies. So I don't know what that means, but it does mean that they certainly could have potential influence on what they want to come out and what they don't want to come out. I don't know how that manifests itself, but just ruminate on that a little bit. Let us begin with Andreas. Please tell the audience where they can find you and how people can connect with you. Anything you want to promote?
Well, I don't really have anything much more than my account on X, and I think my handle there is Andedson.
Yes, it should be on the screen right now, Andreas.
Okay,
come on.
cool. Yeah, well, that's me.
All right, you can see, if you want to find Andreas, you can find him. We have tagged him in all of the cab promos for this episode. That's how you can find it. And Dadson, yeah, it's very cool. It sounds very sort of, very Finnish. Anyway, Renate.
So I have nothing really. Yeah, of course. I can promote my my X account, which you can see right here. Yes. And of course, if there are any Norwegians listening to this, of course you have to become a member of UFO Norway. It's really important. We need those memberships so that we can do projects. Some projects are not for free, so we really need more members. And I guess the last thing I would want to say is just I want to promote people just being nice to one another on X. Just honestly, just keep your eyes on the target. Really, eyes on the target. When you get Sean Kirkpatrick, whatever people are arguing, just let it go. Just let it go. It's not important. Eyes on the target. Thank you.
Ignore him. Yeah, and also shout out to my homies at Gardermoen Air Base, and also war to Thor Heyerdahl, my man. So anyway, All right. Next is Christian.
Yes, so you can find our network, UAP Sweden, on all social media. And if anyone for some reason is interested in me and what I'm doing besides that, you can also find me anywhere under my name, Christian Seance. Simple as that.
What a cool name, man. Awesome. Next, Berg just left, so Christian with a K.
Yeah. You can find me on X on UAPDB official. But I run the UAP database, as you can see in my title here. And I put up everything from news, books, interviews, everything new on the topic. And if anybody is interested in the topic, then they can go there. If anybody is in Denmark listening to this, I have this private Facebook group called the Danish UFO group. Yeah.
Just a question. How many of you on the panel speak another person on the panel's language? Oh, Bergdus is back. So how many people speak another person's language on the panel?
Jag talar i alla fall svenska och det är ganska nära norska och danska. Eller va?
Yeah, I can understand Swedish and Danish, and we can, I can understand them. The funny thing is, though, that the Danish, if you speak Norwegian to Danish, they will go, "Can you speak English, please?" But we understand. They always do that. But we understand them like almost perfectly. So if someone talks Danish to me, I'm like, "Yeah, I understand you," and I speak to them, and they're like, "Can you please speak English?"
Rivalries die hard. All right, let's go. And Bergdus, welcome back, my friend. Do you have anything that you'd like to promote, or anywhere that people can and should find you?
Okay, so I do have a Twitter account, UAP Iceland, but I'm not very active on there. I'm mostly on Instagram, and it's UAP Iceland, and that's where I, post when I've, released new episodes. Only 3 out, but more to come. I have one with Christian van Heist coming out in the next 2 weeks that I recorded with him in Amsterdam. So that was a good conversation, and just thank you so much for having me.
You are welcome. Is it in English? Will I be able to listen, or what language is it in?
Yes, the first 2 episodes are in Icelandic, but then I have an episode with Vinny Adams, which is episode number 3. I went to Sheffield and sat down with him. And then Christian van Heist will be in English also, coming out very soon.
Awesome. I'm going to go watch those. That is awesome. Let's go with Cabby Goodbyes, beginning with Debs.
Thank you so much for coming and sharing about your countries. I think it's incredible when we can do this. I hope that we do more in the future and learn to start sharing everything that we have, because if you show the full force of all of the information at once, it becomes very difficult for someone to pretend nothing's going on. So thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say a huge thank you as well. I'm just so inspired by all of you and the work that you're doing, and how well spoken you are for this subject. I mean, you're just the perfect champions for this, and really want to encourage you for what to continue doing what you're doing in your areas. And it's just, I mean, it's amazing to me we can even have this conversation, that this is happening and we can be connected in this way. It's really exciting. So I do hope we get to do more of this, and I look forward to hearing updates on what all of you are working on the next time we get together.
Yeah, I echo the sentiments of my brilliant co-hosts who just knocked it out of the park again today, along with all of you. It was fascinating to hear your perspectives. If you need any of us to come on and have a conversation with you and your friends or colleagues, let us know. We'd be happy to contribute. Yeah, it was just an honor for you guys to come and bring these perspectives that we haven't heard a whole group of folks that represent Scandinavia come on and represent so well. I know that everyone in Norway, Sweden, Denmark, and Iceland and Finland are just going to be, they're just going to be so proud of how you've represented your respective countries today. So thank you again for honoring us with your presence. Julie, thank you so much in the chat for doing what you do every time. And for all of you that came and hung out with us, you can find us we do have a Facebook, Calling All Beings Facebook page now. Of course, we are at Calling Beings on Twitter, and we have our respective Twitter handles here on screen for you. So yeah, give us a like, give us a subscribe. That's all we ask. And on behalf of Andreas, Renate, Bergdis, Christian, and Christian, Debs and Nathan, this is DJ saying peace out. One love.
Peace out, man.
We'll
Thank
see
you
you
so
down
much.
the road. We always wonder what's up around the bend because we don't know.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Calling